Alrighty, should we get started?
Yep.
So welcome to our new Construction Fourplex Mini Mastermind group presentation. Like a lot of you have already heard, it seems like a lot of y'all are pretty new or haven't met us before. Tim and I have been pretty active in the real estate market here in Houston for a couple of years. I'll start off with myself. My name is Hugo Cedeno. Again, thank you for being here. I'm excited to do this webinar with you guys and just share what Tim and I are up to right now with this fourplex and the journey that we've embarked on. I've started in real estate in 2013 and flipped a little over 150 houses. And been involved in wholesale, sub-twos, wraps, just all kinds of creative stuff, and really had a lot of fun in the residential side. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, that's been my real estate. My background is architecture, and so that's helped me a little bit in this fourplex project that we're doing. But pretty much that's my background as a real estate investor. I'm a father of two wonderful little boys. Huh?
Young ones, I say.
Yeah. I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And then I'm married to my lovely wife, Julia. I live out here in the Woodlands. And yeah, so really excited to transition into this project. That's pretty much it about me in a nutshell. Tim, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, real quick. I know you haven't mentioned it, but how many deals have you done already, Hugo?
Yeah, I mean, well over 150. I stopped counting. I stopped keeping track. Like the first 3 years I was really on top of it, and then it was just a matter.
Right, and I know you've done a lot of wholesale deals. You've also done a lot of construction deals, flip deals, and construction deals. I know your strength. You have a really strong strength on the construction side.
Yeah, I started in construction in 2008, so that's a little over 12 years ago. I started with Hurricane Ike.
Oh wow.
Started roofing, and then I got into remodeling, and then I got into new construction, residential. So yeah, I've done a bit. Yeah,
that's awesome. Cool. Well, hi everybody. Hello. My name is Tim Mai. In case we haven't met yet, I have been a real estate investor here in Houston since 2002. It was like 18 years already. Wow, amazing. I have, I've done so many deals. Well over 500 deals for sure since I've been in this business. I'm currently a hard money lender. I've done pretty much wholesale deals. I've done rehab deals. I have besides this new construction that we're doing right now. I have like 3 other major remodeling projects that I'm also doing as well, and so I'm pretty active in the business, so that's a little bit about my experience in terms of real estate. And then I've also trained and taught a lot of people here in Houston. A lot of my, I started teaching since 2006 is officially teaching. I actually started teaching pretty early on just to recruit bird dogs. But I started a coaching seminar company since 2006. So since then, a lot of successful investors that you know of now, like Hugo, like Tom Berry, like Doug Smith, who owns myhousedeals.com, Jason Bible, a lot of the successful investors now have been students of mine since then. So, I probably created a handful of real estate millionaires here in town, and so really been an amazing journey in this business. And yeah, so I am married to my high school sweetheart. We actually met in West Bay High School. For those of you who knows the West Bay area, we have two boys, 13 and 16. So they're both teenagers now. Crazy, right? Part of this presentation, you'll hear more about what Hugo and I have, for you that you can be a part of. We're gonna share with you about a specific project that we're working on right now, as well as an opportunity for you to be a part of a small group that we're forming to help you through learn through our project as well as your own projects as well. So yeah, we're really excited about that. So let's go into let's go to talk about the projects we have going. Hugo.
Alrighty. So what we're up to, I mean, obviously you've heard a little bit about what we're up to. We're up to building fourplexes right now. We're building a fourplex. So we'll just jump into it. Why you should consider a fourplex. So Tim and I have our own reasons when we were discussing, a project that we wanted to work with, that we wanted to work together on. And so, we have our own personal reasons, and then there's, actual reasons that in the market, right, that give us a good reason to want to develop these types of projects. So for starters, I was looking at, okay, how can I take my single family knowledge and experience and how can I scale it? I can buy lots of single family rentals. I know a couple of successful investors that's been their model. They've done very well. But is there a way to scale working about the same amount of work or maybe a little bit more or less, So I got to talking around with a couple of investors, and everybody that I talked to, they were all about apartments. And while I do think that apartments are definitely a good product type, especially if you're looking to scale your real estate business and create cash flow and so forth, the fourplex really called my attention because it just seemed like a easier transition than to jump into a 100 unit, 200, 300. Now, Tim would probably tell me otherwise. And in terms of, hey, like, $100 million deal, same amount of work as a $10 million deal. He's done some of those. He knows people that does that as well. But for me, I was like, hey, this is more tangible. I can really verse myself. And once I understand it, I think it's going to be easily scalable. And we'll share with you at the end of the presentation another project that we're looking at right now that could potentially be a 120 unit project with fourplexes as well. So fourplex is considered commercial in the city of Houston's eyes, in the finance world. You can also get a residential loan on it. Tim will go.
Which is one of the reasons, and one of the reasons I like fourplex too is that a normal FHA buyer can get a loan for a fourplex, right? Yeah, as long as they live in one of the units. So it makes it a really great investment for even an owner-occupant buyer. And so yeah, I mean, as the market is turning, I mean, especially if we're going to go into a recession, people are going to look at how they be smarter with their finances, with their investments. And so this idea of living in one unit and renting out the rest is going to become it's going to become a big trend. And still, people can rent out the whole thing as well. And like Hugo mentioned, when it comes to financing, you can get financing as residential or you can get financing as commercial. And when we get into the ProForma, we'll talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so I really liked, the idea that, hey, a fourplex, that's something I that's something I feel like it's not that big of a jump from single family. It's considered commercial, so there's more money, right? And those are few of the reasons personally for me. The other consideration was, should we build something new or do a value add? There's a whole bunch of there's a couple of fourplexes out there that need work, and I see a couple wholesalers blasting out deals, and that's definitely, I've always heard value add is the best ROI and so forth, but I'll never forget what a friend told me once when I got into single family, and I completely agree with him. He said, Hugo, when you're buying a house, what do you want? Do you want an old house or a new house? And I said, well, a new house if I can get it, and so he said, yeah, new construction is always, it's always more desirable, right? So for that reason, this took quite a few months of discussion, and we were going back and forth until we decided, hey, yeah, let's pull the trigger on this, and let's build a new construction fourplex. It puts us in a better position when it comes to the valuation compared to these other fourplexes. Obviously, there's going to be more work than buying an existing one. At least that's what we assume. We'll find out. Some of these existing fourplexes, you just never know what's behind the walls, and now you got to mitigate asbestos and so forth. So we came in with that expectation, and we decided, hey, new is better for us. And you'll see why later with some of our turnkey buyers, retail buyers that are interested in this product type. So yeah, just new. If we can figure out how to build new, we feel that brings a lot of value. So that's why we chose it.
Yeah, and one of the things that because when you look at plexes, you're always thinking rentals, right? Because chances are you're not going to live in all 4 units. You're going to rent these out. And when you think rentals, the reason why landlords become tired landlords, the biggest reason is because of maintenance. If the house constantly needs repairs, if it's not roof, it's AC, if it's plumbing, and so when you're dealing with a remodeled property, of an existing home, of an old home, you deal with a lot of maintenance issues, and so while it costs you less upfront or less work upfront, it's actually a lot more work in maintenance, and then property management company charge you more too, because it's higher maintenance versus a new construction. The property management is cheaper, for the first 5 years, 7 years or so. There's you don't have a lot of maintenance because everything is still very new. And so yeah, that's the the advantages and disadvantages of an existing remodeled versus a new. And it's also a new construction. We can, if we choose to sell it instead of renting it, we can demand a higher price for it as well.
That's right. And then one of the other reasons is that we feel this is a very hot, up and coming product type. Again, Tim shared some of the advantages of, hey, with the current economic situation, like mortgages are becoming more accessible. There's more, more money getting pumped into the system. So who's to say that, hey, let me build a fourplex, I'll live in one unit and then I'll rent out the other 3 and I essentially live mortgage free. There's that. And then, there's other advantages as well. But it's a very hot up and coming product type. And there's a development here in Houston called Starwood Farms. Tim came across it. It's off of 290. You guys can look it up. Yeah. But it's a subdivision. It's essentially a development of fourplexes, and it's developed by a national group that are doing this all over the country. And we feel that's a very they're capturing a different market than us. We're focusing more on the affordable housing, lower income market. They're focusing on the higher end market, but it's still, it's like however you design your fourplex, it could be for low income, it could be for medium, high, whatever you want it to be, right? Luxury. It can evolve. So those are the reasons why we feel a fourplex is a good product type to pursue. What to consider when choosing your site. So, now we're just going to get into the meat and potatoes. Site selection is probably one of the first things that you're going to do in your due diligence whenever you're looking to get into it, apart from, getting your financing in line and obviously learning about this stuff. So there are many things that we've learned so far that will help us choose a more, what's it called? Not appropriate, but just a better site, right? But probably the four main things that jump out right now are your building size. You want to take into account, like, okay, what's my building size? What's my parking requirement by the city or the county, wherever you're building? What's my impervious cover? And the open space. So impervious cover just means, hey, how much of the site are you covering with asphalt, with concrete? And by the way, City of Houston now counts gravel as a impervious cover, meaning that they're not counting it as pervious, meaning that water can't get through it. So you're gonna impact the storm drainage. So now you have to mitigate somehow. And so you want to take all of these factors into consideration when you're doing your site selection. Open space, this was something new I didn't expect. They expect you to have a certain amount of open space. I think it's like 28% open space that is not covered by your building roof, that is not covered by, it's not your parking lot. So they do expect a certain amount of open space, especially for multifamily. And the zip code, where are you gonna choose to put your fourplex? Where are you gonna build? So some of the zip codes that we identified that had higher rent ratios, we did that just by running rent comps and just seeing, hey, how much are rentals for a single family or a duplex going for, apartments as well. And we want something above that $1 a square foot is our ideal starting point. So the zip code that our project is located is in one of these areas that has a higher rent ratio than some other areas. So our current fourplex project right now is located right north of 610. Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay. So here's the 610 loop, and here's the pin, and this is 59. So we're right east of 59 and north of 610. So we're right outside the loop. And like I said, some of these areas, this lends itself to finding good deals. Still, we can still pay a good price for land and get what we need. It also has the right rent ratio that we're looking for. There's some other areas that are 80 cents a square foot, and it doesn't work as good for our model, and that's for rents, because we want that $1 a square foot or more, ideally, for what we're trying to accomplish. But this is our project location in that area. And how we found our deal and how you can find yours, it's pretty simple. I mean, you can talk to brokers, you can talk to realtors, you can talk to wholesalers. In fact, that's how we found ours. We worked with the local wholesaler, and she brought us a good deal that has an existing house on it. And we were thinking about, okay, maybe we can convert into a duplex or something, but we found out that there was enough space to develop a fourplex. So how you can find your deals, pretty much the same way you find single family is the same way you can find your site, because fourplexes are essentially a house. This fourplex is we'll round up to 2,700 square foot. That's a bigger size home right there. And that's pretty easy to fit, on a residential lot, especially in the city.
Right.
So,
and also too, because you're looking for either tear downs or vacant lots, that you don't have as much competition. So you're able to get these properties for a lot better price than if you were to look for like a normal single family home that you can remodel. So that, so so that's the reason why we found ours through a wholesaler, and you can find yours, through a wholesaler, through the MLS as well, because there's not a big competition for these type of deals. So they're pretty abundant. And in a lot of neighborhoods that a lot of these rental type neighborhoods, that we focus in on, there's plenty of, they call them infill lots. So these are lots in between homes that have never been built before, or that the house was torn down at one point. And so that's the target we're looking for, is these vacant lots that that we can build on, or that there's an old house that we can tear down and build on.
So how we funded our deal, I'll let Tim talk about that. He's in charge of all the financing. So
yeah. So funding for these deals are very similar to funding for any single family home deals, any rehab deals. We primarily use private lenders for our deals. I'm a hard money lender, so I broker some of these deals as well. So basically, you just have to find a private lender or a hard money lender that's open to new construction, and a lot of them are, and so especially depending on your relationship with them. If you're new to the business, you've never done one before, they might require you to put more money into the deal, so that way they feel safer. But yeah, if you've done some, or if you have someone who has experience, like you're working with a builder that has experience, that you can kind of rely on the experience, that helps a lot. But yeah, as far as funding, like I can definitely help you find funding for these type of deals. And we'll talk about a mastermind group that we're creating to help you go through this whole process. And so I'll definitely prioritize the deals that our members are doing to fund all of those deals as well. So funding, like I said, very similar to your normal rehab deals.
Thank you. So our goal, which in turn also is your goal, since you're interested in doing this, is to reach a valuation of $360,000 when we're all said and done. So what that looks like is basically $90,000 per door. So if we have a fourplex, 4 doors, times 90,000, that gives us 360,000. That's what we would like to achieve. We'll go into the ProForma a little bit later, so you can see how we achieve that valuation. But 360 is our value. If you're comparing it to residential, that would be like our ARV, our after repair value. So once we're done building it and so forth, 360 is our goal. If we get higher than that, then that's icing on the cake. That's a bonus, but that's what we're shooting for. And then our cost, we're looking to keep it at 270,000 or below. So that looks like 75% LTV. Going into this, we're coming from residential. We're used to getting deals at 70% minus repairs. And we figured, hey, if we're going to be doing new construction, we'll probably be spending some more. And at the end of the day, as long as we stay under 80%, we feel like we're doing good, because we have a new build. And if we refi right, then the bank's going to want 20% down with the commercial product. So that's, it looks like 20%, that looks like 80% LTV. So 75 is a good number. Of course, if we can keep it all below that, it's just more equity, more profit for us. But that's our goal, which in turn, would be your goal getting into this, is to want to be around that price point.
Right. And this is your all-in cost. Okay. What that means is your acquisition, your construction, your holding costs, right? So you're in the deal all-in cost at 75%, which is a little bit different. When you're looking at a remodel and you're thinking about 70%, that 70% is normally calculated at acquisition and rehab only. you're not counting, all your closing costs and holding costs in that. So in our case, so it's really not much different than what we're looking at here. Here, we're just looking at it. We're calculating this as an all-in cost as our LTV.
Yes. So talking about the ProForma, one of the first things I had to learn in transitioning to commercial is that, comps is one thing. That's how we, it's pretty much what we use to help determine value. And in commercial, what a lot of people use, a lot of brokers and what's thrown around a lot is ProForma. And all that is just like it's like a financial report. I'm going to show you ours. Just a quick analysis. It's a financial report, like future value based on certain variables. And so it's kind of like a snapshot of, once you hit all these, hit marks, this is what the picture looks like. So it's kind of like a financial report. For those of you that aren't familiar with the word ProForma, we did our own valuation, and we hired a commercial appraiser to run it. And this was his summary. And essentially, he breaks it down by dollar per unit per year. So that's what this column is. And then he multiplies it times 4, and that's what this longer column over here is. And then he talks about the income, the potential rental income per unit per year, $9,000 times 4 is 37. He looks at vacancy, credit loss. You can go through all of these line items, the expenses, operating expenses, all the different expenses. The OAR is essentially right here. That's essentially the cap rate. That's what these product types are trading for in the commercial markets, 7%. And, once he gets like a stabilized value, meaning that once the units are filled in and it's cash flowing, then we're looking at 367,000. He rounds it to 370 minus a lease up discount. When we're offering discounts, hey, 1 month free, and, taking all of that stuff, there's no deferred maintenance because it's a new construction. So it comes down to 357, which rounded is 360. This is the number we cared about. So the value per unit is $90,000. So that, it showed us that our analysis was right on par with the commercial appraiser. And that's what gave us the confidence to pull the trigger and do this deal.
Right. And when we run comps, like a normal, like a normal rehab that we do for single family homes, the sales approach, like the comps approach to valuation came very close to this number as well. They're normally not that much far different from each other, but that just to give you an idea. So that way, because if you're selling this property to a conventional buyer, right, like a residential, like getting a normal conventional loan, residential loan, they're gonna use the sales comps approach. And so you want to make sure that the property can appraise at the sales comp approach. Now, what you're seeing here, this kind of ProForma, this is when you're using a commercial loan. And Fourplex on up, commercial lenders will consider doing these loans as a commercial loan as well. And yeah, so ideally is that you use commercial loan because they will give you a higher valuation because it's based on cash flow and less dependent on the sales comps in the area.
Thank you, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about permitting. I became very familiar with the residential permitting process with the city of Houston. And obviously I knew going into it, commercial was going to be a different process. One of the first things that I learned was that there's essentially 2 reviews. There's the multifamily review, which is done by the planning and development department. And they're looking at it more from a place of density. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. They're looking at, thinking about density, and they're thinking about, they're meeting with the fire marshal to look at like fire access on the street. It has less to do about the building and more to do about the site plan, how your building is located, access points and stuff like that. And so they're mainly looking like at the site plan just to see if it's a viable right off the bat. And then you have the commercial plan review, which it is focused more on the building. They do look at the site as well, but here's where you have more the disciplines that are looking at the actual like guts of the building, sprinklers and all that kind of stuff. So diving in a little bit into the multifamily review, they have what's called the performance standard and the garden style standard. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, sorry, that's your chat. So there's the performance standard, and then there's the garden style, which is what we're doing. Again, it's about density for the city. So, however many units you have, if you're building a tower, you're going to be a lot more dense, more units per acre. And this formula right here, density has to be less than 30. And the formula is you take your number of units, so on a fourplex, we've got 4 dwelling units. So that's 4 divided by the number of acres. So, if it's like in our case, 8,600 square feet, it represents like 0.2 acres. So when we do 4 divided by 0.2, we get 21. So we are in this less than 30 number. So we would fall under what's called garden style. Just so that you get an idea of what garden style looks like. Garden style is the picture here on the left. So it's more of these smaller apartment complexes that you've seen that they care about, hey, can the fire truck, can the fire hose, they call it the hose lay, like literally when you lay out the hose to put out a fire, can the hose lay reach from the curb of the street to the back of your building? Is it less than 200 feet? Or do we need a private drive? So a lot of the cases you need a private drive. I don't want to overwhelm you guys right now with this presentation, but they're doing this a lot in Third Ward, where they require a second drive, and you can't get that because it's a small lot. You can only have 1 driveway. You can't have 2 points of access. So you can request a variance, but if you meet other stuff, they may allow you to do it like that. And so the garden style is just the smaller complexes, kind of like what you're used to seeing around the city. And then the performance standard are these behemoth apartment complexes, 200, 300 units that they max out the block, that the building edge goes 3 feet up to the, from the sidewalk, essentially. So fire trucks can't get in there. They can't apply the hose lay rule. So, they have to be able to drive around the building, around the block in order to put a fire out. So this is where a performance standard would apply. Since we're doing the fourplex and our density is less than 30, then we would do the garden style review, which is what we went through recently and got approved for. The city has a lot of helpful resources. This was a good timeline that I feel that they put together. Now, keep in mind, they're talking about these big 200, 300 unit apartment complexes. They're saying for new construction, 24 to 36 months total plan to do that from start to finish, from cradle to grave essentially. So, in the first 12 months, they're looking at, okay, you want to, site select, purchase the land, replat if you need to, bring utilities. Now, this is talking about like, bare land. The closest sewer is 200 feet away, so you're going to have to, impact the right of way. You don't have any power poles there, so you're going to need to do your TCI and bring all your electricity and all that stuff. So all of that stuff and dock prep, 12 months For plan review and corrections, give it about 4 months until they issue the permit. And then when you start construction and do all of your final inspections and get your certificate of occupancy, give it another 12 months. Again, this will probably be shortened, at least that's what Tim and I hope. We weren't planning for 36 months. But for a small fourplex, this should be shorter. And this is what the city provides just kind of as a guideline for timeline when it comes to permitting and construction. We talked about earlier site selection. The top 4 things that we're looking at. There's more than 4 things. It's not just those 4 things that we're looking at. So these are a few more that have helped us deciding, for future projects and other projects that we have in the pipeline. Obviously, you want to take a look at if you can financially, legally build it, deed restrictions and property lines, any liens or anything. You want to look at your property lines, the utility availability. You want to assess if the water, sanitary capacity, and utilities are available, or if you need to pay additional impact fees. We didn't have to pay much on the water side. We had enough, but we were going to impact the sewer. So, our impact fee was around $3,000 because we're going to be impacting the sewer's capacity. Platting. Your plat is your best friend. Your plat, Houston is known for its no zoning, which is, great for some people, and other people just, can't stand that. But your plat actually can limit you from building a multifamily. So before you buy a piece of land, you definitely want to, when you're in your due diligence phase, you want to take a look at the plat and see, it'll tell you in the subdivision covenants whether you can build the building use that you want to build, right? So they may allow commercial, but they may exclude multifamily. So you may be able to buy a house and then you can tear it down and build a warehouse. But if you want to build a small multifamily fourplex apartment, they may be completely against it. So the plat is very, very helpful, very important. Parking, you need to determine the requirements for the type of occupancy. So you want to see, hey, does my parking requirement, does this site, is it going to fit the parking? We talked about that. The setbacks are going to tell you where you can locate, how close you can locate your building to the right of way. Floodplain, Tim, as a lender, this is something that he's very adamant about. You want to chime in anything about that, Tim?
Yeah, ever since Harvey hit, almost all lenders are very careful with flood zones and floodplains, and so yeah, ideally is for you to find properties that are not in a flood zone, but regardless whether in flood zone or no flood zone, it's best if you get flood insurance. Flood insurance for a property that's not in the flood zone is not that expensive. The good thing about the type of properties that we're building, because they're P&B properties, so they're raised up from the land, normally 2 feet or more, and so yeah, we're not too concerned about flooding issues, but we do try to avoid flood zones for sure.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And lastly, just any existing certificates of occupancy. You want to see if there's anything on file for that property, a hold or anything like that. So we talked about the multifamily review. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the commercial plan review. So one of the biggest differences between a residential submittal versus a commercial submittal is that now you're actually going to have to hire an MEP engineer. What MEP stands for is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So you're going to need an engineer to design your HVAC. Even if you're doing it the way that we're doing it, we're using a 2-ton per unit for each unit, and so there's not much to engineer there, but you're still going to need to do it. You're going to need what they call a panel schedule, 1-line diagram. It's not just a little electrical floor plan like in residential. Now you're going to need some more engineering around electrical. And on the plumbing side, you need to have riser diagrams. What else? There's a couple other stuff, but that's what the MEP engineer is for. And you may also need a traffic engineer. So even though our density is rather low, we found out on our fourplex, it's nominal. Like, we don't really need to go through traffic for the big stuff, like the big performance standard apartments, because they will impact traffic for sure. However, you are expanding your driveway in almost all the time, and so traffic is going to be important. You will need a traffic engineer or at least a consultant to help you. And sprinklers, you're also going to need sprinklers. Whereas in residential, you can get away with smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, interconnected. Here, you're going to need that plus a sprinkler system, no matter what you're doing. And by the way, the city of Houston considers anything 3 dwelling units or more to be commercial. So even a triplex, if you're doing it by the book, needs a sprinkler system because it's commercial. So our plan.
Hold on real quick, Hugo. Yeah, so some of these, might sound like a little bit overwhelming right now because all the little details. Just, keep in mind that, we're trying to give you the highlights. I mean, as you do your own project, especially if you're going to be a part of our group, we're going to walk you through each part of this so that way, so that way you know what to do as it comes up. And also you get to see how this plays out, in our project. And so don't worry too much about all the details at this point. We just wanted to kind of give you a highlight of what to expect.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I want to make sure that this is valuable. We want to make sure this is valuable for you. But yeah, that's a good point. So our plan, Tim and I, we have a plan to sell our finished product to a turnkey provider. I'll let him talk a little bit more about that because it's one of the other perks and benefits of our mastermind group.
Yeah, so I have friends who specialize in, they have clients. So what a turnkey provider is someone who sells a rental property turnkey with property management already in place. So I have friends that sell, hundreds of these properties every year. Each of them sells hundreds of these every year. And they're always looking for more properties, and they love the this project that we're doing, this type of project, these brand new fourplexes that we're doing. And so we pretty much already have buyers lined up to buy this deal from us as soon as we're done remodeling it. I mean, not building it. And so that's our plan for this one. Our goal is to sell some, use that, use the profit we make on them to pay off some of our own, so that way we can build our rental portfolio as well. So that's the game plan. The game plan is sell some, keep some, sell some, keep some, and in the end, out of every 3 or so that we sell, we'll have 1 of our own that's free and clear. So that's the game plan, and that's the game plan that we would want for you, that you might want to consider as well, as you're looking at building these kind of rental portfolios. So that way, you're not just selling and not have anything to keep for yourself. And it's kind of hard to keep all of these for yourself, right? Because you have money that's stuck in these deals, and so you do want to try to sell some so you can have that cash to be able to keep some for yourself. Especially for those of you who decide to join us in our mastermind group, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that you have access to all of our buyers as well, so that you can sell not just these new construction type deals, but pretty much all your rental deals. We have buyers for you for them. So
yeah, I was impressed. I will add that I was impressed. One of Tim's turnkey providers, and this is a national group. Tim, what did you say? They move 20, 30 deals a month?
Oh,
Um,
no, that's so there's a couple groups, but the one that you're thinking about for this property, they sold 800 properties last year. So what that works out to be per month, it's like,
yeah,
a lot.
it's crazy. And even, one thing that I have discovered is that in times like this that we're going through right now, man, cash flow is so much more valuable, than what it was before. So anything that's income producing is obviously valuable because it's producing income, um, and so yeah, so even in times like this product, this one provider, we haven't signed a contract or anything. Fortunately, Tim has the network with many people, so we're still scouting, and more than anything, we're looking to just, okay, let's finish it, and then we can talk. But I mean, they pretty much made us an offer, Tim, at 350, right? And they ran their own numbers. And they said, hey, based on what we're used to, what our buyers are looking to pay, was that right, or
Yep.
did I miss it?
Yep. Exactly.
So that gives us a lot of confidence getting into this, even though this is what is considered speculative, because we're speculating, we're taking risk. We're almost, kind of like a fee for, what's it called? Developing for a fee, right? We're almost doing it as a build to suit, right? Because we have these end buyers in line. And I think their requirement was we only needed to get 2 units leased up. We only needed to get 50% leased up, and then we can close or something like that.
Correct. Yep.
So, that gave me a lot of confidence getting into it, especially since it's close to that 360 number that we want. Again, Tim being the ninja negotiator he is, I'm sure he's going to try to get us the best deal he can get, but I figure that's worth sharing.
Yep.
So that's our
these buyers, they buy based on cash flow. So whatever the property can rent for is how they determine their buy price. So they're not like your typical investors here in town that buy based on like ARV or anything like that. It's all pure cash flow based. So for them, if they can make an 8 to 10% return on their money, they're all game. So it's so they're paying, I mean, they're definitely paying pretty much retail for these properties.
Yeah, and a lot of them are using financing. They're not even using they wouldn't use all their cash. A lot of them are using
right,
like conventional mortgages and FHA and all that.
Right, exactly. Yep.
All those products. So our floor plan, essentially, I gave you the address, 4623 Ireland Street, Houston, Texas, 77016. That's our address for this particular project. We have an 8,600 square foot lot. We're proposing a fourplex, and the building living square footage, the livable square footage is 2688, so we'll just call it 2,700 square feet. Comes out to 670 a unit, and the unit mix is just, they're all 2-1, so it's all 2-bed, 1-bath, and yeah, that's pretty much that's the layout, and it's 2 here. I'll show you the elevations. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are your 4 doors, and essentially this is unit number 1 is on this side. Unit number 2 is down here. Unit number 3 is up here, and then right to the left of that is unit number 4. So we kept it very simple. We want our footprint to be as small as possible, and so our footprint is 1,300 square feet, pretty much 13 and some change. Multiply it times 2 floors, it's 2,700 square feet. So it's like a house, it's like a medium-sized house. So it's reasonable. You can probably see now. Why it's kind of an easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's more of a, what would you call it, Tim? Not seamless, but more of a reasonable transition, because it's like building a house, but you're dividing it in four and giving it 4 kitchens, 4 baths, 8 bedrooms, and you're just making it a fourplex, right?
Right.
But these are the elevations, front and side. Anything you want to add, Tim?
Yeah, and our idea behind this too is that we're selling these as a fourplex now, and because of these areas, they're typically like 15 minutes from downtown. So in the future, when we own one of these, and let's say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, those area has appreciated a lot, we can easily convert one of these into a single family homes and sell it as a single family homes if we wanted to. And so yeah, there's a lot of options available, or tear it down and build a new single family home, because by that time those all those lots inside Bellwood 8 is going to be worth a lot of money. So we are making it affordable, with the idea that when these land appreciate a lot more, we might convert these back into a single family homes. You see a lot of these in like Rice University area, where it used to be a fourplex that people have converted back into a single family home because land value has gone up. So yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. I remember one of your friends told us that's how forget the name of that city. It's that small city, right. It has its own jurisdiction. You don't go through city of Houston. It's right there by Rice.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't
it starts
remember.
with the C. I forget, but my mind went blank. But yeah, that all used to be fourplexes, and then it was such great location that people started converting into single family, and now they're they're 1 million+ homes there. So yeah, I can see like you said, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever from now. You capture all the cash flow plus the appreciation, because we're so close to the loop.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit about what's to come. We've contracted some land, 5.7 acres, and we're proposing to build basically 120 unit development, kind of like we shared with you about that Starwood Farms development. Well, this would be similar, but again, focused on low income. And we essentially just want to take this same building and multiply it times 30. Do 30 buildings, and so 30 buildings times 4 units is 120 units. We're deciding right now if we want to take it to entitlement, or if we want to fully develop it and just piece it out. But we got that, and we've got a couple individual lots already that are ideal in the zip code and area, in the vicinity of where we're doing ours, to do individual fourplexes as well. So that's a little bit about what's to come. Tim, anything you want to?
Yeah, well, so yeah, we mentioned this to let you know, and which you can advance to the next slide, Hugo. Sure. Yeah, so basically, to let you know that like we have these projects lined up, and so you're gonna have an amazing opportunity to come alongside with us, to be a part of what we're doing, to get to learn from our mistakes, to learn like what we have found worked, what didn't work, so that way it's shortcut your learning curve, right? You make less money, and you'll be able to succeed so much faster by coming alongside with us. If you can go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. So we're doing a new construction fourplex mastermind. What we're looking for is we're looking to bring on a small group of 20 investors to be a part of us, a part of this journey that we're going on. It's a year-long mastermind, and so yeah, you get to witness, and you get to be a part of all of the deals that we do in the next 12 months. And whenever we go on site, we'll schedule that, and so that way, at least once a month, you have an opportunity to go on site to learn hands-on, from the time that we decide on the lot to the time we tear down the property and clear up the land to build, and all the framing, foundation, all of that steps. So you get to learn like new construction, in a great way without using your own money, your own risk that you put into this. You get to learn it from our deals. And of course, along the way, if you are ready to do your own deals, or if you want to partner up with us, either you partner up on our deals or you want us to partner up on your deals, that's what we're looking for as well. We're looking for deal opportunity, partnership opportunities. If you say, hey, I don't want to do the actual build, I just want to be a private investor, an equity partner with you guys, a passive partner. We have those opportunities as well. And then we'll have a Facebook group that's specific to these new constructions. You can ask all of your questions and get all of your support through the Facebook group. We'll help you analyze your fourplex deals that you want to take on. We'll help you get all your deals funded. Everyone in the group is going to get my priority when it comes to funding. So I'll make sure that your deals get funded first before we run out of money for other people's deals. Okay. And then also too, if you have rentals that you want to sell, you can sell it to our turnkey buyers. Like I said, they pretty much buy at retail, and so that's one of our strategies too. Like even the rehabs that I have going on right now, not just the new build, but the rehabs that I have going on right now. My plan is that as soon as I finish rehabbing them, I'm selling them to these turnkey buyers, so that way it'll be like 0 days on market, pretty much sold by the time we're done with them. So you get all of that as a part of the mastermind. So to sign up for the mastermind, we if you can advance the next slide for me, Hugo, thank you. We were gonna charge $10,000 for this mastermind. We decided that we want more people to get involved with new construction. There's such a shortage of new construction in the marketplace right now, and shortage of affordable housing in Houston right now in general. So there's a lot of opportunities for new construction. So we want to create a group that specializes in new construction, so that way we can learn from each other, we can share notes, we can share resources, and so our economy of scale will be so much better as a group than it is individuals. Things like when we're getting bids from contractors and builders and stuff, the ones that gives us the best product, the best price, we'll let you know, so that way you can use them on your project as well. So for this whole year-long mastermind, / coaching for new construction, it's only $3,000. We want to make it super affordable. To sign up for that, you just go to www.rebrand.ly/4plex. So rebrand.ly/4plex, and it'll take you to our order page to sign up. So now we're gonna go to Q&A, and let me see here. So Stephanie asked, what's the minimum size lot for a fourplex?
So there is no minimum, but there are those 4 factors, right? You want to look at parking. I know somebody else asked about parking. So depending on your unit mix, oh, Jesus, Jesus is asking if the audio
I can hear just fine, so it must be on his end.
Okay. So yeah, on ours, we have an 8,600 square foot lot, and that seems to accommodate, we're still in commercial plan review, and multifamily approved it. So it seems to be good enough. It's not a simple answer, because you got to look at how much parking is needed. So we need 7 spots because we're doing 2-bedroom units. If you're doing 3-bedroom units, you would need closer to 9. And if you're doing 1-bedroom units, then we could probably get away with 6. But because we're doing 2-bedroom, there's a requirement of how many parking spaces. We also have the impervious cover, which is 65% before we have to do any kind of retention pond or anything like that. So if you don't want to have to spend money in building a retention pond, and you want to just regrade your site and there's capacity in the storm sewer, then 65% is your number. And then you've got open space that you have to adhere to as well. And so, yeah, there's many variables is what I'm trying to communicate. And for our fourplex, that each unit is 2-bed, 1 bath, the 8,600 is plentiful. And in the area that we're at, that tends to be the lot size. We could probably get away with, 7,500 square feet. You can't do it with 5,000 square feet, but some people do a fourplex with 10,000 square feet and, give plenty of room, and maybe you could even do 5 units, 6 units if you want. But I think if you put 2 city lots together, 2 standard city lots, 5,000 each, 10,000, that's more than enough. The smallest, probably around 7,500. And that's really tight. You don't want to be that tight. A good friend of ours that owns a lot of apartment complexes said, hey, I want my tenants to be super comfortable. I don't want there to barely be parking. So if you can even add an extra 3 parking spots, that's how you're going to have tenants that'll pay you month in, month out, because their cousin will come visit. They'll have places for their family, their friends to park. So that was a really good tip from that individual. So yeah, 7,500 I think is like the bare minimum, but you really don't want to be there. That's really tight.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. Yeah, our audio got Jesus. So are you back in? Yeah, I know the audio cut out for Jesus, and Jesus said he's in for the mastermind. So thank you and congratulations, Jesus. Looking forward to working with you. All right. Okay, Eddie asked, with the turnkey buy, do we need to account for realtor fees? Yes, we do. We do have to account for realtor fees. However, like I said, because they're buying it at retail price, it's basically you don't have any holding costs. So it's it's much better than listing it on MLS and waiting for a buyer to come and buy for sure. Okay, let me see here. Benjamin asked, do you know about building in Sunnyside? I have few lots in Sunnyside and I'm considering building a duplex or better. Yeah, I mean, if you already have the lots, Benjamin, that's great. Sunnyside, has been just really booming. And as I mentioned earlier, the city is focusing a lot on the city is focusing a lot on the Sunnyside area as well. So it's a great, and you can totally apply what we do here. The same floor plan you can build it on your Sunnyside lots for sure. And so yeah, the value, your valuation on Sunnyside, after you build is probably higher than the one so it might be more than 360,000 as the end value, because your dollar per square foot in terms of value is higher there in Sunnyside. Rentals also demand a better rate there as well, especially if you do like short-term rentals and stuff like that to all that medical center over there. So yeah, so Sunnyside is a good area also. Let me see here. You guys have any other questions? Go ahead and type it in. Fabian asked a question about, is it hard to go through permitting, taking a house that you're going to tear down into a commercial property with this fourplex? Is that the question is that hard? How difficult is that to do?
Yeah, the answer is yes, it is hard. And that's why we put this together, to make it as not hard as possible. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're tearing down a single family that's 800 square feet on this lot, and we're putting a commercial building, which happens to be multi-family housing. So yes, it is hard, and it has the submittal package for a residential versus commercial is 4 times as much work is what's needed. Residential, you can with the single family right now with COVID, I have a buddy that's a builder. It usually takes 2 to 4 weeks to get approval. It's taken him like 3 months. But he's gone through about 2 or 3 rejections. But yeah, with commercial, it takes longer. You've got a lot more. So part of what, the way Tim and I think is, let's learn this process and let's template as much of it as possible so that we know what we're getting into. But to answer that question, yes. We had another question by Guillermo Marquez, 8 parking spaces. I kind of answered that earlier about with the minimum lot size. Multifamily, the planning and development department use a ratio. So if you have a 2-bedroom, you need 1.66 spaces per unit, per dwelling unit. For a 1-bedroom, it's like 1.33. And for a 3-bedroom, I think it's like 7 or 8 or something parking spaces. If you're doing just a residential house, they require 2 parking spaces and that's it. But when you're doing commercial, they require, they use those factors. So on a 100-unit apartment complex, depending on your unit mix, all of your 1-1s, you have to multiply them times 1.33. All of your 2-1s, or whatever, 2 bedrooms, you got to multiply times 1.66, and that will give you how many parking spaces you need. So for ours, all of our bedrooms are 2-bedroom, all of our units are 2 beds. So 4 times 1.66 gives us 6 point something. So we need to round up to 7 parking spaces. So the minimum is 7 to answer his question.
Is it okay if I ask the question now
Yeah.
over this phone? Okay. So the minimum is 7, but are you going to do 7 or are you planning to do 8 or 9?
No, we want to do 9.
You're going to do 9.
Yeah, we wanted to do 9 like parallel park, and if they don't allow that, then we'll try to do it diagonal. We're going to try to fit as much as we can.
I think you said your background is in architecture. So did you do all the floor plans yourself, and you just hired the MEP to do the mechanical and electrical?
Yeah, I did some of the architectural work, and then the engineer did a lot as well.
Cool.
Thank you for the question.
Yep. Hey, so Marty asked a question. Where are you at from cost per square foot, not including the lots?
Yeah, so like build cost, I would assume, right now because we're in the commercial plan review, we're getting bids right now. We got some, what was it, Tim? Was it 90? We got some quotes in at 90 to 100. We're obviously getting competitive bids at the moment, so.
Yeah. So you can expect bids we're still getting bids right now, but somewhere between $80 to $100 a square is kind of the range. And of course we're trying to get as low as we can without sacrificing quality. But yeah, ideally, if you can come in at $80 a square, that would be ideal. As we're getting bids, we also let the contractors know that we'll be doing more of these. So this is not just a one-time deal. So we're trying to get a better deal, through basically promising volume. So which is one of the benefits of us doing it together as a group, is that, you know, we'll have a lot more project as a group, and so we can get costs way down on these construction. Okay, Jesus asked questions about the OAR at 7%, the cap rate at 7%. Yeah, so basically, you know, Jesus, that's what a commercial lender or you know, buyer oftentimes look at to determine what they're willing to pay for a property, or what a property can appraise for. Like a commercial appraiser would look at that as, you know, what it would based on the cash flow. So whenever they calculate like cap rate, you know, they're looking at cash flow. They're looking at how much is the rent for, how much are the expenses, what's the net income, and you know, and so, you know, that net income is how they determine the cap rate, which is how they determine the value of the property, which is different from your sales, you know, your sales comps approach, right? You know, where, you know, you run comps on the MLS like you do with the single family homes. So does that answer your question, Jesus? Yeah, you know, yeah, don't worry too much. You know, just knows that that's how commercial appraisers and that's how these buyers, like these turnkey buyers that we sell to, they look at it from that perspective. They look at it from a cap rate perspective. A lot of rental buyers look at from a cap rate perspective.
And by the way, the OAR, because I learned this with this project, OAR is an abbreviation for overall rate. It's the income capitalization rate. So it's basically just the cap rate, you know, for short. And that's why people call it cap rate. But that's what OAR means for those that may not know. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions? So yeah, so to you know, to sign up, be a part of the group, we highly encourage you. You know, we need each other. You know, we need you, you need us. We're just, you know, we're ahead of you, so you get to learn a ton from us. And when you're part of our group, we can leverage off of, you know, the volume that we're doing together, so that way we can get better pricing. We can, you know, get through permitting much faster on your projects, because now, you know, we have everything templated for, you know, for you to be able to, you know, to get your project done a lot faster. And so yeah, so the, you know, you know, together as a group, you know, we'll be able to succeed much easier, much faster. So we highly encourage you, if you're gonna, you know, if you're looking to do new construction, definitely sign up, be a part of this. We're capping it at 20 people. We want the group to be small and intimate enough, big enough to get the, you know, to get the discounts that we need as a group, you know, for the economy of scale, but small enough that we can give you all the supports that you might need, you know, to be successful in this. So, so to sign up, go to www.rebrand.ly/4plex. Okay, rebrandly.4/4plex. I put the link in the chat as well that you can click on. Okay, looks like we don't have any other questions. So yeah, you know, thank you everybody for being on this mini mastermind. Hope you learned a ton today. I know I have, and I've been learning this alongside, you know, learning from Hugo alongside this project. And so I hope, you know, it was of great value to you. And Hugo, thank you for leading this.
Oh, you're welcome, Tim. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Hi, everybody. Have a great evening.
Bye,
Go
guys.
out there. Let's do some fourplexes.
Do some deals.
All right.